The snow crunched underfoot. A gray, low, and heavy sky loomed over the frozen plain. Face to face, two armies stood in absolute silence. On one side, the Volturi, Aro, Marcus, and Caius at the front, their dark cloaks trailing like liquid shadows. Around them, the guard, led by Jane, Alec, Felix, Dimitri, and dozens more, all with glowing red eyes waiting for the order. On the other side, the Cullens, with Carlyle at the front. Beside him, Esme, Emmett, Rosalie, Jasper, Edward, and Bella, holding Renesmee in her arms. Surrounding them, allies gathered from around the world: Zephrina, Benjamin, Garrett, Kate, Eleazar, Tanya, Alastair, and the Quileute wolves, led by Sam and Jacob, transformed into giant beasts, eyes glowing like embers. But Alice wasn't there yet. Aro raised a hand. "I'm truly sorry," he said with a cold smile. "But without proof, this child represents a threat to our world. A hybrid existence cannot be allowed." "She's not a threat," Carlyle shouted. "She's a child, a life." "That's not enough." Then he lowered his hand. "Destroy them." Everything happened in a second. Alec released his mist, clouding the allies' senses. Jane unleashed her pain toward Kate, who fell to her knees, and the world exploded in fire and ice. Emmett roared and launched himself at Felix. Benjamin raised a wall of earth that split the field in two. Zephrina unleashed terrifying illusions on the Volturi, causing some to stumble over invisible enemies. The wolves attacked like gray lightning. Garrett, with a war cry, leapt into a column of vampires, ripping limbs without hesitation. And Bella, with her mental shield extended to the maximum, protected as many as she could, feeling like a true warrior for the first time. But the enemy was too great. Dimitri tore apart one of the Egyptians. Renata protected Aro with lethal precision. Caius, with a savage grin, led his forces like an ancient general. And little by little, they began to fall. Carlyle was the first. He ran toward Aro, begging one last time for peace. Aro pretended to extend his hand, and in a second, Felix appeared behind and Carlyle was beheaded. A heartbreaking scream filled the field. Esme. But before she could reach him, Jane stopped her with her power, and then Esme fell too. Rosalie screamed in rage. Jasper went into a frenzy. Edward stood still for a moment, as if time had frozen. Then, with a roar unlike any human sound, he lunged at Aro. Meanwhile, Bella shielded Renesmee, hidden behind a wall of ice created by Benjamin. Jacob, in wolf form, nudged her. "Take her away, now!" She hesitated. "I can't leave them. You can't save them if you die too." Bella turned and saw Edward facing Aro, and she understood. She understood everything. This wasn't a day to live. It was a day to fight. From the top of a hill, two figures finally appeared. Alice, Nahuel, too late. Alice screamed as she saw the field covered in bodies. Vampires turned to dust, wounded wolves, shattered allies, and knew there was no more room for negotiation. But there was one thing left, a choice. Alice charged into the fight, running like a dark comet through the snow. Jane saw her, fired her pain at her, but Bella, now freed from protecting so many, raised the shield toward Alice, and for the first time, Jane failed. Alice reached Aro. She threw him proof of harmless hybrids. Nahuel's story, the letters, everything she had gathered. Aro took it, he saw it, and for the first time he seemed to hesitate. But it was too late. Carlyle was dead. Esme too. Benjamin wounded. One of the wolves, perhaps Seth, lay motionless in the snow, and Edward bled dust. Alice looked at her family, at the ruins of what they had been, and raised her gaze. "Aro, it's over." Aro lowered his eyes, and for the first time in centuries, he didn't know what to say, because he had won, but at a price not even he was willing to pay. The snow stopped falling, only silence remained, and the smoke of what should never have happened. The snow, once white and untouched, was now stained gray. Ashes of vampires and blood of wolves marked the battlefield. Motionless bodies, broken hearts. And in the center, Alice, eyes hollow and her body covered in remnants of the battle, held Carlyle's coat as if holding it could bring him back to life. The Volturi retreated, not out of honor, but out of shame. They had won, but at what cost? The vampire world no longer feared them, it despised them. Benjamin had lost an arm. Kate, injured but alive, held Garrett's lifeless body with a mix of fury and silence. Zephrina, on her knees, kept her eyes closed, channeling a vision no one understood. And Renesmee, still with her face buried in Jacob's fur, cried. Bella did not cry. Not yet. She only looked at Edward's body, lying covered in snow, his face serene, lips parted as if still whispering her name. Alice approached, kneeled beside Bella. "I saw it," she said with a broken voice. "So many times, and yet, never like this." Bella closed her eyes. "I can't live without him." "You're not alive, Bella, nor dead. You're awake. And what am I supposed to do with that?" Alice didn't answer. She just hugged her. For the first time since her transformation, Bella cried venom. The following days were silent chaos. The world knew what happened, not through media or witnesses, but because the clans began choosing sides. The Romanians claimed power. The Denali swore loyalty to the surviving Cullens. The wolves returned to Lapush, diminished but not defeated, and the Volturi vanished. Their authority no longer feared, their legacy bloodied. In Forks, the Cullen house was restored, not like before, never like before. Renesmee grew. Jacob never left her side. Bella survived. Every night she visited Edward's symbolic grave, a marked tree, a nameless stone, and she sat there listening to the wind. Sometimes she spoke, sometimes she sang, sometimes she just stayed still. And in her silence, Edward lived. Alice, meanwhile, became what no one else could, the protector of the Cullen legacy, the mediator, the negotiator, the one who saw what was coming and dared to live anyway. And so, in a world that burned and froze again, the war brought death, but also memory, and from memory, something new was born, a new order, not based on fear, but on choice, and on the strong voice of those who fought not for power, but for love.